Hello learners, in this video I am going to discuss about some of the basic aspects which will help us to understand Java programming in a more better way. I will take the help of a PowerPoint presentation to represent all the concepts. First, I will discuss what do we mean by a computer program. Now, according to the Wikipedia, a computer program is a collection of instructions that perform a specific task when executed by a computer. Now, to explain this, I will take help of a simple example. Suppose we want to add two numbers and display the result of the addition onto the computer screen. To perform this task, our basic intuition is to first store these two values into two variables, then add these two variables into a third variable, and finally display the value of this third variable onto the computer screen. Now, if we want to perform this task using a Java program, we can write a Java program like this. As you can see, we have written here a class named test, and inside this class we have written one function main. Inside that function we have declared three variables, namely a, b and c. In the second line we have added these two variables into a third one, c, and finally through this line of code I have displayed the result or the value stored into C variable onto the computer screen. Now, those who have gone through my first video, they must be familiar with how we can write a Java program on BlueJ software, how it can be compiled, how it can be run to get the final output. So if we follow those steps, we can easily write this program onto BlueJ and run and see whether the desired output is coming or not. Although this is a very simple program, but one can easily grasp the basic idea how we can formulate or write a program given a problem in our hand. Now I will go into the next slide. Here I will discuss what do we mean by executing a program. When we write a program, actually we try to solve a problem through computer. Now, to solve the problem, we provide some instruction for the computer through the programming. When computer start performing the task intended through the computer program, we say that the computer is executing the program. When we write a Java program, we store it in a file with .java extension, which is called the source code file. After completion of the source code file, we compile it to produce another file with .class extension. In this file, Java stores the bytecode for the source code. The bytecode is the main magic of Java, which I will discuss later. Now, after compilation is done, we execute the program to get the final output. Those who have gone through my first video should be familiar with how a Java program can be written in BlueJ environment, how it can be compiled, and how it can run to get the final output. In this slide, I am going to discuss why Java is considered an object-oriented programming language. The straight answer of this question is that an object-oriented programming language should have three characteristics, namely encapsulation, polymorphism, and inheritance. As Java possesses all three characteristics, hence it is considered an object-oriented programming language. Now, other than these three characteristics, Java performs another aspect which is known as abstraction. What does it mean is that Java make a representation of real world object into programming. How Java does it, I explain that using this slide. As you can see here, I have written or prepared a class named box having three fields or instance variables. H, W and B stands for height, width and breadth, and this class having three methods, namely load, volume and main. In the load method, I have copied some values into H, W and B, and in the volume method I have calculated the volume of the box. Now, in the main method of this box class, I have created variable of the class box. Now it should be mentioned here that a variable of a class is known as an object. So we have created an object, namely b1 of the class box in main function here. So this object b1 has characteristics such as height, width, breadth, similar to the real world object box. Although a real world object box have much more characteristics than height, weight and breadth, but for the sake of simplicity I have only included these three characteristics here. So all in all, this b1 now representing a real world object box into this program. Please write this program into BlueJ environment, compile it and run it to see what is its output and to grasp the basic ideas. In this slide I have discussed the difference between two programming paradigms, namely OOP, abbreviation for object oriented programming, and POP, abbreviation for procedure oriented programming. Now before object oriented programming paradigm came into the picture, programmers were using procedure oriented programming approach. In that approach, programmers used to divide whole program into smaller segments, which is known as functions or procedures, and try to manage those procedures to get the final output. In doing so, they lost the focus on the data, hence the data security was missing in that paradigm. Now in procedure oriented programming, the whole focus was on data, and programmer builds their code around the data, hence the data security automatically comes into the picture. Hence these differences between OOP and POP are depicted here. Although these are very theoretic concepts, but in latter portion of my course I have gone through some example to explain all these theories. In this slide I have discussed a very basic building block of any programming, namely variables. See, whenever we are writing any computer program, we basically manipulate some numbers or some values, and to manipulate those values we have to store them somewhere. Variables are those entities into a program where we store some values. In Java, how a variable can be declared, I have given some example, such as this a and y are two variables of type int and double. These types of variables are known as data type. What actually happens when we write a line like this in Java is depicted using this figure. See, whenever we have declared one integer variable, something like this happen inside the computer memory. A designated amount of memory is reserved for every variable that we declared, and that amount of memory now has the name of that variable. So if we assign a value into that variable, a value gets stored into this memory area. Now values can be of different type. This type of values are known as integer values, as these don't have the decimal points. These values are called double values or float values. These values are called character values. Now by using data type we actually specify two things. One, what possible value a variable can have, and what amount of memory will be reserved for that variable. As I have shown using a picture, this one, that whenever we are declaring an integer variable, a designated amount of memory get reserved. Similarly, if we declare other type of variables such as this one, y, whose data type is double, designated amount of memory for double variable will be reserved for y. Hope all this discussion should clarify the basic idea about declaring a variable and using it into a Java program. Now the Java has two type of variables, namely primitive type and composite type. A primitive data type in Java is a very basic type and which is already declared inside Java. There are 8 primitive data types already declared inside Java, such as integer, long, short, byte, float, double, boolean, and character. Now, a composite data type is the one which builds upon primitive data type. There are mainly three composite data types available in Java: array, string, and classes. I have discussed into my courses how an array can be created, how a string is used in Java programming, but for the time being I am discussing only the theory into this slide. Having grasped the idea of variable, now we will discuss something about literals. When you declare an integer variable, it will hold the values are known as integer literals or constants. The literals are those entities into program which does not change throughout the course of the program. As you can see, if anywhere into our program we write 125, the meaning of this value will remain 125 from the beginning of the program to the end. It is not going to change. So these values are known as literals or constants. Literals can be of various type: integer literals, double literals, character literals, boolean literals. So all in all, a literal means a constant value that a variable can hold. So into this video I have discussed some of the theoretical concept of Java programming, which will help in our journey of learning Java programming. Hope you have enjoyed this video and learned some really cool concept about Java programming. Please subscribe my channel, click on the like icon and press the bell button so that whenever I upload a new video, you get the notification. Thank you.